Hi. We're at an Army Institute Professional Development, Railroad Dispatching, and we're going to start on Chapter 4, Superiority of Trains. Superiority of trains. A train is superiority to another train right of the direction as stated in rule number single track 71. The rule operating can cover the technical manual 55200. This rule is other establishing superiority, probably simply stated for the easiest understanding of all the railroad rules applying. The provisions of the rules of the trains are the same. The different class operating in opposite direction single track comparative. However, the three trains of different classes become involved in the two-way movement of the two-way involvement of single-track superiority, correcting interruption. Numerous trains or commands that present a complex problem to present problem to the person involved. However, the right of the train at a particular location given the time easily inserted and proven the right of the fully respective of all trains. Some find themselves little better than off motor service in a hospital bed who insists that he had a right of way. The chapter discusses the superiority of the train and the dispatching method is changing of the superiority. 4.2 Superiority and right. On railroad you may hear the timetable rights, however the conveyed mistaken right as dispatcher uses it is conferred by the train order alone. On the other hand, the superiority is granted on the timetable. Paragraphs A and B define the terms, explain the difference between both the right and the superiority must be clearer understood by students of train dispatching. Right can be conferred on a train only by the train order, never by the timetable. The superiority is confirmed by the timetable based on the train's superiority class, superior direction. A regular train may have a timetable with authorization. A timetable superiority, but not necessarily superiority by right. If such a train is issued a train order that helps it but restricts it, another superiority train, then the first train has a superiority by right and additional timetable superiority. 4.3 Rules in establishing superiority. The rules quoted in the paragraph of the technical manual 55200 establish the superiority of the train. The rules with the S prefixes apply to the single track. Those with the D double track are those with both single and double track. As an A rule, single track rule 71. Generally, a train's superiority to another train or right or class direction. The right is confirmed by the train order, class direction, and timetable. A right is superior to the class direction. 3. The direction is superior between the trains is some same class rule D7. In general, a train is superior to another train by right of class. Right is confirmed by the train order, class, and the table by its superior class. Right is the superior to class. Rule 72, class and direction. Trains of the first class superior to the second. Those of the second class are superior to those of the third. So on the train's direction specified by the timetable, the superiority of the trains of the same class in opposite direction. D. Rule 73, extra trains are inferior to regular trains. 4.4 Class direction. Both class direction are conferred with the timetable. The two terms are defined and discussed in some paragraph A and B. The class conferred with the timetable cannot be raised or lowered by the train order. However, the class can be taken away by the train dispatcher annuls it and schedule runs it in an extra. First class trains are superior to those of the second class. Second is superior, third is superior to the fourth, so on and so on. Some railroads, even the fifth class, but interest in basic presentation, the text avoids using below the second of the examples given. The extra trains are inferior to all others. However, that on the railroads, the two extras meet on a single track on the train, with the train going in a superior direction holds the main track, the other takes the siding. Direction is confirmed by the timetable. For example, the railroad must simply eastward duplication, superior eastward direction, superior westward. At the meeting of one of the trains, same class, one of the moving inferior table direction must be siding unless the otherwise provided in a train order. Right it is conferred by the train order, superior class direction. Illustration how and right the direction shown in the paragraph 2.5. The following illustrations show how the right may be the superior class. While reading the example, you may wish to refer to the figure 1.1. Assume that the 125 count westbound extra located in the engine rated capacity approaches Wildwood at about 15 minutes after the first class train. Number 62 is due for the opposite direction. Although there is no number 62's first class is solely daily local hauling, mostly baggage express on only a few passenger cars. and only a few passengers. Since the 5 to 10 minute delays on the first last train really relatively unimportant, the dispatcher may sidetrack it just but before it reaches Wildwood to keep the stop having extra instead of extra where the side tracks cleared and number 62 pushes the distance may be needed to start again. The other trains both in directions may be delayed. The extra course would be written train ordered to proceed into an area on the first class train. The eastbound passenger would also need a train ordered to the side to take siding, but because both its class and direction are a superiority, consequently the crews to hold the main track against all trains. The dispatcher then would issue the train order transferring the right of the extra, stripping the superior order of the passenger in the train. However, the change is effective if the train meets, which each time is the former straight status. Remember that in its absence, order the contrary to the super train holds the main track. Many railroads sidetrack slow-moving trains to let time symbol freight pass. While usually classified extras, the trains operate the time schedule, even though the schedules are not listed. Operating time, the hauling high-class rate usually produces most revenue. First-class train, the extra set, as there's no right over the freight train. However, unless such right conferred on them the train order. 4.6. Extras. The large number of the trains on any railroad may be designated as extra. They are not listed in timetables whenever such sufficient freight and tonnage is in the yard to justify their operation. Also may be the necessary additional passenger section, especially during the vacation holiday seasons. In addition to extra work, trains work extras may also be run for purpose of the documentation. All extras are also designated, such as extra 310 east and work extra 920. 20. Work extras are work trains for employees performing track maintenance construction all the way along the right-of-way between specified points. Because the train must move both directions, no such designator is used referring them unless otherwise provided by the train order. Work extra must clear all the regular trains, protect against others against in both directions. A work extra is not protected against the regular train that is work on time overdue scheduled train under the flag protection unless instructed to do so by train order. To distinguish between the extra trains and regular schedule, the extra display of the flag day by day and the white lights and night of the front of the locomotive note with the white flags mounted on the passenger extra shown in the figure 141. If more, the locomotive is used in the head end of the forward engine carries the signal. These extras must comply with the rules 86 and 87. Quoted 4AB scheduled train do not display except under the condition cited in paragraph 4.7. 4.7. Handling passenger running of the additional section frequently necessary. The section is one or two more trains than the same in the schedule. Technically speaking, especially dispatching telegraph, there is no such other passenger either than the class designator or its extra. The important operation employs in the figure of the passenger extra displays the white flags conductor were meeting in the class of the first class train. He could not assume simply because he saw the train several passenger coaches go past him. The train which was waiting and would have noted the engine to be certain. The one that had sought by that string empty church coaches might have designated extra. It might be seem logically that the technically no passengers, if there certain could no extras passengers. Some railroads require all trains be designated by class or as extras. Here's a freight train. Conductor were waiting in the clear. Quote, in the clear. A first-class train he could not assume simply because he saw the train several passenger coaches go past that the train was waiting that it was the train he was waiting for. He would have to note the number of the engine to be certain. To one of the he saw might of the string of the empty coaches and might be designated as an extra. It would be logical that technically where no passenger trains certainly could be no extra passengers. Some railroads require that all trains designated class or extras. Many other railroads, however, recognize the need for the extra passenger designated use of the trains cannot be run in other train schedule. The designated demands receive more respect from the yard crews. The crews of the trains in the equal class than at least know. For this train, the most important of the train calls the crew schedule trains, however, the most be regarded as extra passengers inferior to their own. When overflow changes requires any of the train, the dispatcher may authorize create an additional train calling a section. To giving a section first class standing, the dispatcher often runs into a conditional continuation of a first-class scheduled train called a second section. An example assumes that the first-class number 87 leaves Conroy at 1700 section must be run 30 minutes later. The dispatch can given the right over the trains would otherwise superior be calling the section second 87 by numbering regardless of 87 becoming the first 87. The train order the dispatch is issued. The interpretations are given to the subparagraphs as the following. Orders to the crew of the 58 of the first 87 of the telegraphic office, the station along the line would go to this train order. Engine 450 displays signal. No, star 1. Only sections also less 2 green flags and displayed during the day and an additional 2 green lights at the night. Rule number 20. And run his first 87 Conroy to Maxey to acquaint all personnel. When the detailed second section accepted to the following order, the necessary engine 464 runs his second 87 Conroy to Maxey. The weight of the Conroy until 1730 past the hour. Interpretation order requires all the engine trains and first 87 first regular time. First time, same as the order had not been issued. Additional requires engineering first 87 below the one long short blast and whistle notify the train the same class every inferior order the same direction all yard engines. The train displaying the signal other than the section engine notified it is some acknowledgement of the same signal by 2 short blasts. The second order is the authority on. 4-8 work trains and work extras. Train hauling work gains their tools equipment to perform the maintenance construction along with the right of way of the call to work trains the regular train crew additional with the maintenance construction workers. However, the text details with the train crew work trains may be given to other trains that properly practicable emergency. However, there may be necessary superior trains, sometimes always trains. Paragraph 519 explains the example would direct the train most clear the right of way before any train could move. The following subparagraph discuss the operations involved with the using train. Protecting a train is said to be protect the crew station flagman sufficiently ahead of the rear to stop approaching the train might otherwise collide with the stationary one. Since work trains are necessarily always stationary, it must be practical to have to protect themselves against all trains. They generally locate where they are reasonable closing the siding that they can enter into the clear, maintaining that any other train approach that the work train conductor sees the train clearly as all regular trains specifies the rules 86 and single track 87. When the wayside dispatcher telephone is near the conductor, maintain also is in close constant contact with the dispatcher on whether what about and the extras knows and when to take the siding. The work train and the flagman who must flag the main track while work train is occupying is relieved and flagging while the train clears the main and advise the clearance of the engineering sounding the appropriate number of blasts of locomotive whistle discussed in subparagraph E. Work training orders. The work training must pay back paragraph. Frequently, work crew to get the job in the practical flagman walk ahead of the train dispatcher, knowing the kind of the work being done. Excessive moving area attempts to other permits of the work train hampered. For instance, no extra is arrived in the work limits before 1 after 1000 hours for the dispatcher. Would it issue order that permits the maintenance to carry out their tasks such protect against the extras or until that time, such as the order might read as engine 3025 work extra 701 past 700 hours until 1501 and 1 minute after hours 15:00 between R and K W and D not protecting against extra trains until 1000 1 past 1000 hours. Or if desired, he could not protecting against the second and third class the permits to work on the time schedule of the trains for the flag protection train orders work trains and discussed more fully in paragraph 518 as though they were difficult to all intelligibly to the maximum work done with the least delay. Protecting against work trains superior order does not class protect against the work trains on a double track. All crews know with the location work trains are both copies of the actual orders and from the notice posted in crew offices along the general notice specifying the work area, the number of the days which would progress, reduce speed and light, emitted area on single track. However, all trains are sent direction are given copies of the work extra train orders. The instruction generally requires a work extra clear train while delay now approaching regardless of superiority, tonnage, importance, and would run into the pass of a work train flagman. D. The military trains frequently in the theater operations may necessarily, for all trains protect against the work trains significantly. They have given a higher priority for those hauling the troops or supplies. Civilian this is the work train and its crew may be particular locations solely due to the improved passenger riding comfortable to make long-range repairs necessary to be a capital investment. It must be economical to insist such work train protect against the clear time of all trains by because in small and generally close to the sidings can claim here the main track much conveniently. The high rear train cannot stop, wait until the work train clears, and then resumes its run. The military work train, however, there may be funded blocking train may be different, but the for presenting reason in the theater the comfort long range and its consequential work train operated with absolute necessary to keep the train reasonable fit in the supply of the troops and the trains moving toward the front of the sometimes work of the train justifying superiority all trains supply because of the failure to track work speedily with the result in blockade with the new trains be able to stop the other four trains while working the train clear with the main and is not serious because the military trains are frequently relatively short and restarting in the not ordinary problem. E. Proper working train. In discussion with the work train flagging, the most impossible overemphasis importance of the train of the main track of the flagman protects his rear stationing himself to ensure the back of the stop and the approaching single track of the forward end of the train must be protected in the same way. The work train engineer must be sighting clear as his sounds an appropriate number of the blast or whistle called the whistle in the flagman before the train blocks the main engineering sound specified by the number of the blast. Flagman again goes out to flag. Well, this is called whistling out the number, though the blast varies according to the direction and the work train headed with the number of the main tracks. The alternative whistling in and whistling out, which occurs when the work train clears and blocks the main, involves hazardous operating rules, does not stress and safely spokesmen seldom point out the dangerous stems from possible human failure to the flagging danger with a probable illustrated following of the true story that an experienced flagman was assigned to the flag with work extra on a single track of the having black signal protection. The work train about 6 hours working in one location approximately 251 meters from the siding of the train crew had ordered protecting against the eastbound track extra. Only the conductor was able to station himself close to the wayside dispatcher telephone and scheduled. The trains came within a few kilometers of the area that would have the train working, entering the siding and calling the flagman. They would have relieved the flagman and he'd return to the side of the tracks and let the approaching the train. After it passed the work train engineer would the whistle of the flagman return to the main track and the flagman would assume the position in the center of the track ready to stop an eastbound extra train. Several hours passed during the flagman had been whistled at, and perhaps a half dozen times the many trains saved passed. Late afternoon, fast high priority freight appeared in some way. Flagman kilometers. He turned into kilometers with the train, which was around the curve or the outside. Out of sight, the flagman sat on the pile of tiles, sitting on a pile of ties, getting up the sight, saw the approach of the train, walked to the center of the track. He looked in both directions, returned to the tie pile, and soon he got up again and walked over the track in as it to flag the train, and suddenly turned around and returned to the pile of ties. The engineer approaching the train accepted to be stopped and eased off the throttle, but he resumed full speed. The flagman walked the side of the right-of-way, and the second time the kilometer up the track, the flagman of the 45 kilometers per hour freight crashed and the work train demolished the caboose. Two work cars stopped in the freight end of the boat, very deep in the work train engine. The two sections men were killed. Property damage estimated at nearly $100,000. What happened is rather basic when given in a light thought. A flagman simply could not remember whether was in or out. He did not know whether the train was in the main or in the siding. He had two choices, and he gets wrong. If he had recalled the sample provision of Rule 108, he could, in case the uncertainty person will take safe course, and he would stop the train and prevented a tragedy. 4.9 timetable schedule. Early text states scheduled trains were always on time. Train orders would seldom be needed. The schedules were worked out, strung for its publication. Single track timetable maybe meets the scheduled train of the plan extent of the train orders are necessary. However, the scheduled train may frequently run late. When they do the train orders, they must be issued other than on the line to assist overdue the trains getting back to the schedule to prevent them from delaying the train's operation following the subparagraph. Further discuss operating trains with respect to the timetable. Running ahead of the schedule, the right of the regular train to occupy the main track at the particular time of the established timetable. However, the train must travel in strict accordance with the published time figures in the train schedule columns, as shown in the timetable in Appendix 2. This means the train cannot get into the arrive at the various stations substantially before it's due. Logically, a passenger could not make a practice departing station earlier because of the clamor which would surely be raised by the traveling public. Rightly so, the train may gain time between any two successive stations, but it must not be asked to advance stations earlier than the time shown on the timetable. To do so would disrupt the operations ahead of the train. When a yard crew desires to cross the foul main line track with inferior that occupies the track ahead of the superior one, the crew adhere strictly to publish the time figures and timetable. They are always a thought that, but not ever to depend upon possibilities of the scheduled train being late or never early. B. Running behind schedule when the train becomes late. On the schedule, number of the delays, inferior cars running over the division are brought about. Likewise, yard engines required to be used across the main tracks too, and doing so and working also be delayed. When a regular train being laid, the average dispatcher's cautious authorized movements might interfere with the progress. Knowing the engineer is trying to make up the lost time, the dispatcher is naturally reluctant to authorize movement the conflict with the engineer. Effort to act on the schedule additional probably for the more important, the dispatcher has no knowing how many minutes the engineer may have. The aim, since he has reported the last station. If the dispatcher takes no positive action, the crews on the division, even though that their train is late, cannot use the time represented with the number of the minutes running behind them might recently respect the publish until they have seen a train under order otherwise. A train were traveling on Elwood Division of the DN to the BL with the yard crew, the Fairview, knowing that it is 5 minutes relating from the DN to BLD and the MD, and they could not, depending on the extra turns at the Fairview. The reason for the train may make a last of the MD and the FW, the MD and the FV, the Fairview arrived at the later station on time 5 minutes before the yard expected it. In train time, it's right to the time published schedule unless it is dispatcher's temporarily amended it with a train order. What does it notify the train crew, all appropriate operating employees or others? 410. Orders affecting scheduled trains. Chapter 5 discusses exclusively many forms of the train orders paragraph and to text upon certain orders showing the details of how they affect other over movements. Transportation division from instructional standpoint, fairness and readiness and seamless, unwise, completely avoid discussion on orders until the last chapter. Therefore, earlier paragraphs, which are the basic dispatching principles, are cited to explain some of the train orders of the dovetail the particular discussions and subparagraphs that follow specific examples of giving some of the train orders necessary handling schedules and explaining many orders of the chapter 5 you are given the work, knowledge, understanding the intent of some of the many orders that are being detailed in discussion in the chapter. A run late order of the train of the same effect changing the published schedule of the particular trip is set back in the schedule many minutes of the train. It is late, and number 19, the first class running of the convoy into the Maxi is held. 50 minutes is the starting point away from the mail car from the connecting the railroad and handling with the train. The dispatcher has 3 choices given the crew run late order to run 50 minutes later from the origin destination issue, not a restriction order permitting the crew make up as much as 50 minutes as possible during the run of the D and NY to the AY. Given the crew a wait order which would specify the earliest time the train could depart from the station shown in the wait order discussion in subparagraph B. The dispatcher given the train a run late order is ready as follows: number 19, engine 3130, run 50 minutes late to the Conroy Max at the FMB. The order would change the number 19 leaving the time at each station. Its regular schedule should be below the column. It is revising schedule in column 2. The order would not help number 19 because it does not permit the train to make up any 50 minutes. Of course, inferior trains find it helpful the dispatcher issue such an order, he said, to putting out the scheduled train involved. Actually, he amends the timetable schedule particular train of the particular trip. He is in effect of granting the others the time represented by the difference of minutes between the adverse and run late time. These are the stations in column 1, 2, and leave and arrival times from the stations. To make up 50 minutes of course, the inferior train to the helpful dispatcher issues an order decided that putting out the time the scheduled train involved. Actually, he is amending the timetable schedule for the particular train for the particular trip. He is in effect of granting the others use the time or represented the difference of minutes between the adverse and run late time. The dispatcher takes no train order that, however delayed in the train, would be free of making up some of the time. The dispatcher would advise one of the inquired if the train ran late would give the reported OS time for the last station. However, he would particularly guarantee anyone of the train was going to be 50 minutes late for every station between its point of origin. The trains of the yard crews not be the precise time exact. Expect the train that could not depend on using a full 50 minutes because of the figure must be progressively reduced and the train traveled over the division. When the dispatcher is issued run late order, he is guaranteeing that everyone concerned that the 50 minutes will not be reduced. A wait order, also called the time order, may be issued instead of a run late order. The popular of all dispatcher. The later is not popular with all dispatchers. Railroads even prohibit its use. A wait order permits the engineer to make up time, tells everyone concerned approximately how much time the predicts, and guarantees just how much time will be made. In the effect of that saying no X will be allowed to make up 20 minutes between A and E, and it might make up less, is not going to be permitted to make it up anymore. The order specifies that the train not leaving the station at the time shown opposite station of wait order number 19 under the conditions just given by might read as follows. Number 19, engine 3130, waits until bliss until 1800 quarter after 1800 hours. Madison 23 minutes after the 1823 minutes after. Kane 18 minutes 31 minutes after. Osborne 1800 hours 38 minutes after. Wildwood 1804 18 quarter till 1845 minutes after, quarter till. Fairview 1800 hours 52 minutes after. Nelson 1900 hours 5 minutes after. Lilly 1900 hours 18 hours after. A White Tower 29 hours after. FMB. The dispatcher effectually writes the new schedule that most often run also. He shortens. Yeah. The dispatcher, in effect, writes the new schedule of the most of the run. He also shortens five few minutes in the individual running time by the certain stations. A comparison of running time between the station can be made examining two columns of the file time and the station's run lating orders shown in column 1 and the station's departing times of the wait order listed in column 2. Column 1 run late order, column 2 wait order. The DN Tower leave at 2 minutes past the hour. Bill latest 19 minutes past the hour. The hours waited the 18 quarter after the hour. On column 1 run late order to column 2 wait order. Madison and 18 half after past the hour, and Madison 18:23 minutes past the hour. Kane 18:40 past the hour. Kane 18:31 past the hour. Oddsberg 1800 hours 51 past the hour. Osberg 1800 hours 38 past the hour. Wildwood 1900 hours 1901 past the hours. Willwood 1800 and quarter till. Fairview 1909 past the hour. Fairview 1852 hours. Nelson 1927 past the hour. Nelson 1905 hours. Lilly 1942 and Lilly 1918 past the hour. AY Tower arrives at 1956 past the hour. At the AY Tower arrives at 1929 past the hour. Examination of the two columns show the exact number of the minutes shortened schedule in column 2. The number 19 will make an all-time all the time that he can make the limits set forth in column 2. He fails to meet the faster schedule of his train will be permitted to leave the station later than the time shown. Under no circumstances the train may be permitted to leave earlier. 4. Loss of timetable schedule. On occasional schedule may lose the right of and scheduled loss to the scheduled train losses the right of the continue occupying the main track. Losing a schedule having the superiority restricted entirely different. The distinction may be clearly understood. A train may have its timetable superiority temporarily suspended for the train order, which restricts. 2 examples would be putting a relatively important schedule into the siding elimination stop, delaying having heavy extras and side striking schedule eastbound when the east of the superior direction. The westbound of the equal class is kept moving. The restriction is on only the temporary train continues its normal schedule after the train is ordered. However, the 2 occasions the train actually loses its schedule, hence the superiority. When it is 12 minutes hours of the timetable that changes. More than 12 hours when scheduled train becomes more than 12 hours and it has been in the die on the schedule. The means has lost the schedule. All train orders holds it and are null. The train can proceed to the point where it loses its schedule. Only the new train order. The dispatcher rule 82 of the TM 55200 provides a regular train more than 12 hours behind either the schedule arriving, leaving at a station loses the right and schedule therefore can be reduced and only be authorized by a train order. Okay, since the rules specify or even arriving the time that follows the train arrived at the station at 1700 and departing at 1707 after the hour, continuing the schedule arriving at exactly 1900 hours, departing exactly at 1907 past the hour. However, the 1901 and 1 past the hour when the last loses its schedule would have the right to leave even the complete-ish and could complete it. Unloading API due reading the departing at 1906 past the hour. Conversely, it arrived at 1900 hours not depart from the 1909 past the hour. Likewise, dies in schedule. The first instance, it would become the later arrival, the later because of the later departure. In the event of the dispatcher will recreate the training as an extra running a section and another scheduled training, explained by the paragraph 4.7 of the schedule. No other train would be convenient if the dispatcher created the train extra because it's so long overdue, probable, conferred with the right over the long other trains' destination reached until the division terminal was reached. Another dispatcher has jurisdiction. Loss of the schedule is not common occurrence because of most dispatchers takes some positive action to assist trains and annul its schedule before it becomes 12 hours late, and however this is not impossible. Change timetable. The train possibly loses its schedule because of the new timetable is issued. Assume the first case, the last train operates daily to summer resorts from June 1st through the 30th of September. Because the train operates exclusively convenient for the resort patrons, it is null effective the first day of October. Therefore, the midnight of the last day of the September new timetable that takes effect. The train due to the arrival home terminal at 2330 past the hour. The new timetable has known that the train completes with the last return of the schedule. Suppose, however, the last trip of the train with an hour of resorting to the station, dispatcher pulls out of an hour and puts out an hour of train explained in the paragraph 410A. The midnight technically of the 0001 hours. The train loses the schedule at the rate of the occupying the main track because it does not appear near the no current timetable. The hours time the dispatcher has put on their trains cannot be carried over the timetable. However, the train schedules at 001 past the hour would be handled exactly as the train discussed in subparagraph A. Under the conditions outlining the example, giving the dispatcher different action when he sees the train is an hour leaving at its initial station, going in its overlap at the new timetable and notes the train schedule he creates an extra gives it right over all trains to its destination. Rule 4 of TM 55200 provides each timetable the moment it takes effect to supersede the previous timetable operating the schedule provided with the new timetable to secure the valid authorization. Dispatcher continues to run and do so for extra trains. 412. The summary is referred to the train order class and the direction timetable, basic routes of display, hatching theory, and practice. The dispatcher accomplishes the objective of arranging the order of precedence and governing rules and setting suited particular operations. All rule books, no matter whether they be railroading or containing a secure rules of outlining method determining superiority trains. The section of the operating rules as well as the appendix 3 should be consulted with as you may assign to the railroad operating test, whether it be the train engineering service in phase of the dispatching work or any of the supervisory capacity involving the movement of road trains. As a student of the train dispatching, you are reminded that the entire reference in this text is intentionally general and cannot be construed in being the standard of all railroads, all conditions of the train operation. The rules established superiority have over the standard of all American railroads. They are identical to to those of military use. Operational procedures you base on fundamental rules and practices that might be suitable in the peacetime railroad of the Navy type, while the inadequate theater operations dispatcher had broad powers of a train that he might say limited operation policies directed in the higher authority. The timetable established the rules, particularly dispatching policies, also given must be examined by assuming that all the fundamentals are outlined and always apply. Chapter 5, Train Orders.